And you got to kind of choose at this point, do you want to go ahead and hit F6 for everything? Okay. Um, Even though there's really no difference between these two frames right now, uh, you might want to say, okay, well, we're basically locking in this first position here, and then everything at this 8th frame is definitely going to be a new keyframe and subject to any change I make. You could also undo that, and then you could just go, well, you know what, I'll let the program decide based on whether or not I actually end up moving something, whether or not it's going to put a keyframe there. Probably what I would do is, just because I'm more used to doing this, is just going ahead and saying, hey, I'm going to hit F6 right here. And that way, when I come out here and do my next position for this guy walking along, I don't have to worry about a tween kind of skipping this middle position here and then going straight to right there. Because when you think about it, when somebody's walking, they're kind of making a series of only 4 key positions, and then your body's just filling in the rest. One of them is the right leg is forward, then the right leg is off the ground, and then the right leg is back, and then repeating through that. So that's kind of what I mean. So anyway, let's do this. Let's go over here to this frame, and let's see if we can try to use as much as we have learned. So we'll go grab the inverse kinematics for this. Again, I have to hold down the option key, or I'm sorry, the command key on the Mac to get that IK selection started. Or actually, I guess, now that I think about it, I could just go over here and just click on that guy, and that works as well. So we will move this slightly down here. Keep in mind too that he's kind of like a gunslinger, so he's even though he doesn't have a gun, now that I think about it, I do want his arms kind of bullied out like that. What we could do, just to play around a little bit, is peg one of these what is it, joints. Let's see, would it be the hand that we want to do? Well, I'll click on that. I'll put a peg right here, and I think what would happen then is it's kind of similar to if I just disable the rotation on it. It's just not going to move around like that. So yeah, what I could do is I could always have the hand kind of pegged like that, and then I could go through the animation and then start swapping out. His fingers just kind of moving. Almost like he's getting them loose, ready to go for his pistol. Of course, I don't have any other drawing substitutions for the hand right now, but that's okay. I just wanted to look at another thing here. Let's go to this this joint and peg it, and then see what happens if. Okay, so that one's not pegged anymore. This one is pegged. Let's see how that looks. Okay, so it basically makes it so that you can't really. It's not the things above it aren't getting affected. I think. No. Let's just undo it. Okay, so far from frame 1 to frame 8 here, we don't really have a lot going on. We've talked about a lot going on, but we haven't really done much. Okay, let's fold this up. Let's go over here to this arm. Again, I still have the IK button on, and one key thing to note too, I still have the animate toggled on. I doubt I'll be turning that off anytime soon. There is a great hotkey for that. If I could remember it, I think it is Command A. One thing I need to actually do is kind of decide what I'm doing with this. Let's do this. Let's make this arm go back some. So this time I'm actually going to go and just grab the transform tool. We'll move it back that way. Of course, it is moving just as like one chunk. And let me actually start it back a little bit as well. And let's take this leg. not that leg. Well, actually, it doesn't matter which one we start with, but let's grab this guy. We'll click on the IK. And actually, here might be a good usage of this peg. I'm going to click on this, peg that. Oh, there we go. That's pretty good. So you can see that if this leg was hitting the ground, okay, and then the body was going to be moving up, and then this leg was going to be sliding back like that, this knee's going to basically just stay bent. The foot is going to stay on the ground plane like that, and that's actually probably, let's see, well, let's move up this leg top just a bit. And this might be a point, well, no, actually the IK worked out pretty well for that. I was about to say, we might not want to use it there. Okay, then let's take a look at the other foot. This will be kind of obvious. This guy's coming forward, like so. We might want to actually go over here to this leg foot. One thing to keep in mind is that visually this is pretty accurate for an extreme of 1/2 of your walk cycle here, where this arm is back, so this, I guess it's his right arm is back, and then the right leg is forward like that. It actually kind of looks like both of these are forward right now, and that's just because of that kind of gunslinger pose. But well, actually, no, this one's. Now I'm confusing myself. Somehow they're both right. Okay, let's do this. Let's go and take the head now, and for this, I'm just going to select and move it down some. Of course, you could always squash it too. One thing that you can't do in Flash is scale things. If they're on an IK chain. Still mad about that. I can't get over it. But I mean, not to overlook that. Like, let's think about how. Let's put this in perspective a little bit, since we can. I'm going to grab this leg, and I'm going to bring it. I'm going to scale it forward like that. Okay. And then it's going to go back like so. When I was doing that, it kind of seemed like this one leg was in front of that one, but yeah, I'm not seeing it there now. So, okay, so now let's come out this way. It looks like we did put a keyframe on everything, so that's fine. But we'll go ahead and do it again, just to be sure. And where to begin? Let's just go ahead and grab this leg. Remember, this is still pegged, this middle part right here. So let's unpeg that guy, because we do need to kind of send it back like that and have that guy rotate as well. In fact, what we could do is switch over here to the transform tool, and I think we can start to just move that leg all the way back. Now that might be a bit extreme, and also one of the I think rare cases for us maybe swapping the Z depth for that leg, but let's not do it just yet. Let's not totally commit to that. Okay, let's try this too. Let's scale that. We can also skew it. Gosh, there's so many different ways we can manipulate this thing. I could take. Oh, look at that. Oh, I see. I was one frame past. I was about to say, what program am I using? There we go. Okay. All right, so you see how that kind of looks like it's sliding back there like that. And then let's actually scale it down even more. And move it just a little bit. Man, this is easy to do. Okay, so let's grab, oh, you know what, I did it again. Oh, just slide that over there, that works. Let's grab this leg, and again, I'm using the transform tool right now. Okay, so not the IK tool, but I could switch over there to that, and click right there. Okay, so I like that. I like this final position for that part of the cycle. What I don't like is that it feels like this kind of robotically moves up instead of one fluid motion throughout the whole thing. Okay, so let's see how it kind of goes from point A to B and then upward to C. So let's see if we can move the top part of this. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Not the pivot. There we go. I think I even took it a little bit too far. There we go, something like that. And I've just got that, basically the boot and the foot. I can even scale this up some. And it kind of seems like now my starting pose probably should have had that a little bit skinnier and a little bit more squashed off to the side, like so. Because we do tend to I'm squishing this one in on itself quite a bit over here. One thing I really haven't addressed too much is the body. So let's see. While those are moving, you know, it's kind of up to you actually whether or not you want that to be coming up or down, but let's move it down. Let's see if we can grab the head, make that move down with it. So it kind of looks like he's got like a sneaky thing going on. With that body squishing just slightly, we should probably move this arm down some. And speaking of this arm, let's go ahead and rotate it forward some. Well, now let's do it with the IK here. And maybe this is a point where we don't do it with the IK. Let me unfold this hand. Keep in mind too, for this kind of cowboy gesture, we might even be making this move too much, because it almost looks like he's folding this arm into himself. We don't want that. Yeah, I think that's actually probably fine. We can keep the arm kind of out like that and still give the impression that, you know, the arm is kind of swinging like human arms do move when they taking steps. Okay, let's deal then with this back arm. Let me collapse this guy, fold this guy out. We'll try to use IK on it. Yeah, that's actually swinging okay. Let's go down here to the hand. Rotate that in some. Let's take this arm and let's move it like so. We could actually maybe even scale this down some. And come to think of it, maybe that's something that we should be doing for this arm. Just scaling that up a little bit. Oh yeah, there we go. Okay. And looks like we're putting about 8 or so keyframes or frames in between those. So let's go and now hit F6 for all those guys. And let's come up with some in-betweens. So this leg's now going to be sliding on our kind of invisible ground plane. And let's go find that leg. Where did he run off to? Okay, it's this guy. Nope, oops. Probably want to peg that like we did before, and then just, whoops, swing that like so. Let's actually switch back over here to this one and just squish it up. Okay, yeah, that's going to be a problem. Let's undo that. I think that's one of those cases where we had good intentions, but it just wasn't going to work. Okay. Alright, don't flip on me. There we go. Go back over here. Squash this up. Oh, I don't want to move that pivot. What I'm going to do here is take the body. I'm going to actually shift select everything and then move that down some. Well, we'll be able to see how that looks with the head in just a second. I think what I've done actually is I need to, there we go. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe it's not. Let's try squishing it, make it smaller. Remember too, I got to get back to, whatever I do with it, it's got to end up fluidly getting back to that point, and I don't know if that's, oop. Oh, let's just delete that keyframe. Oh, there's a little lesson itself. I went to delete instead of just delete keyframe. Okay, and let's see. Well, I'm looking at my other leg down. I'm just trying to decide if it makes more sense to just go and copy some of these frames than I had before. I say we do that. Copy frames. That was actually not copy frames, but copy cells from timeline, and then paste cells from timeline. Okay, so since that's coming forward again, we don't want to make it. We don't want it to seem like it's sliding on the ground. So what we're going to do is just let's try and raise it up like that. And of course, to do a really great walk cycle, you'd be kind of, I think, offsetting a lot of these things and adding a lot more impact to the actual kind of when the foot hits the ground, things like that. But we're just kind of doing this quick. Oh, and you know what? That needs to be right forward there. Okay, deal with these arms. We'll just move them back. These arms over here. What are they doing again? Are they coming forward? I can't even remember. Oops. Arms are usually one of those things where I think I've got them looking good until I've played the whole cycle through, and then they need a lot of readjusting. Okay, so I'm just going to come out and let's go ahead and just select all these. Go down to copy cells from the timeline. That's getting cut off. It's really below the screen there, but you can just listen to what I'm saying and do the exact same thing. I guess I could just come over here too, and let's see. So, where is paste? Tools, paste. No. Okay, well, I'm just not seeing it. Paste cells in from the timeline, so that will get us back to our first frame. And here's where we can really end up critiquing our work. If it looks like a guy walking in a cycle, then we've done our job. One thing I forgot to do is move this head after. So this head needs to go back down here. Actually, the head doesn't even rotate at all. But let's clip off this part. So I'm going to delete those guys. And actually what I'm going to do is select all these frames right here. I'm going to hit F6 to keyframe them. And then I'm going to delete out this frame right there. And that was actually not a delete keyframes. That was all the way to the bottom, just a straight up delete. Because remember, we don't want the same frames in our cycle twice. Okay, so like that, walk it along. And I need to pause the video to make sure I remember actually how to cycle things. Okay, I got a little refresher there. By the way, one thing I was playing around with was actually testing to see if I thought my animation was any good. It's okay for doing it in 20 minutes and on screen. I haven't adjusted it. But go and what I did is I made it so that my exposure is only down to just this exact amount of frames that I have for the walk cycle. I clicked on loop and play forward just so I can actually see how it's looking, and it's okay. I mean, it's fine. My screen capture software is not going to be set as you know, the frame rate I'm seeing of that, so it might look a little choppy for you guys, but you can of course always test my example files. That's not to say that I won't clean this up a bit after I get done with the video, because I like rewriting history. But yeah, I actually think it looks pretty good right now. So let's do this. I do need actually the I should only be viewing this exact amount of frames. Okay, so I needed to do that anyway to do this cycle, and it turns out actually that I didn't even really need to put in this master peg at this point. I'm not going to worry about deleting it though for right now. What we'll do is just grab all these keyframes. Okay, so just got them all selected, and what I'm going to do is just dump them into the symbols library. Probably, yep, turns out whatever I guess whatever the top layer, or maybe even whatever layer I was dragging from ended up taking the name of that. So it ends up being arm11, and what I'm going to do is just rename this to be we'll just call it walk cycle. And you might even notice that I already have another cycle in here from before. See that? Yep, it looks the same. And so if I were to play through this, you can see, sure enough, there's my little cycle in there. It actually looks kind of funny because the preview area shows as much as possible, so it was actually making it kind of fisheye forward a little bit. So now that we have that cycle in there, what we're going to do is we're going to create a peg just only for that. So although I'm kind of nervous to let go of them, well, actually, you know what I can do is just make these guys invisible for right now. And then let's create another layer. Let's put this up at the top, or maybe not. Okay. Let's move this out some. Okay, so let's do this. Let's take my walk cycle, put it down there, I think. Actually, you know what? Let me undo that. Let me actually create an empty peg layer first. And then I'm just going to drag this onto the peg. Okay, that was pretty key, I think. Because now when I drop that symbol on there, I'm actually seeing each one of these frames put out onto the timeline like that. Okay, this guy's walking along. Remember too, you're not seeing what I had before. What I had before was viewable over this way. Okay, they're doing the same thing. Actually, maybe this is a good example to have them side by side like this. Oh, I didn't mean to animate that though. Turn animate button off. Okay, so there they go. They're both doing the same exact thing, but if I extend the exposure out this way, and actually I think a second ago I just referred to moving this thing as extending the exposure, but that's not correct. That's just giving me more timeline area. And then you can see that this guy stops moving, okay, and actually they both stop moving. But what we're going to do is select these frames out to here, okay. With them selected, I'm going to right click, and I guess you guys aren't seeing it, but there's a create cycle under right click there. Let's see, maybe I can find it. It's funny. I'm bad at finding things in a program like Flash that I know really well, and then I'm about as good finding things in Animate here. Okay, well, take my word for it. If you right-click, you will see Create Cycle down there, and now you get this box that shows up, and we'll just set this to be 3. Okay, in fact, let's see, move this out even further. Okay, so now this guy keeps on walking, like so. And what's cool too is as you're going through this thing, you can see, at least with this guy selected, your drawing substitutions are showing up there. So I guess if you did want to kind of go crazy at one point, like right here, I could move that out like that, and then that'll break it from its thing, from the cycle, using a very technical term like thing. Scoot that back though. And I do have this peg up here, so let's actually make this invisible again. And let's turn the animate button on. I'm going to grab the free transform tool, move this guy over here, scale him down, and then out this way we shall scale him back up again, like so. And let's take a look at that. So let's see, there he is. He's walking on forward. Hey, look at that, cool. Okay, well let's have a little bit more fun before we go. And this is kind of an easy thing. I'm gonna right-click on walk cycle here, and actually, no, I'm not. I'm just gonna go over here to effects, and guys, there's a ton of them. Let's try. How about motion blur? No, let's not do that. I don't know about what's going on with that mask there. I haven't played with that one too much. Let's just try a good old blur. Okay, let's drag this underneath there. We will just drag your walk cycle up to be kind of like a parent or a child underneath the blur. Let's fold this guy down, and let's come over here. I guess what, F6. Let me expand this out. That's at 0 right now. Let me go ahead and put another keyframe actually at 0 for the end of this. And then let's just bump up the radius. And actually, you probably won't see anything in the OpenGL mode. But over here in render view, it sure looks like we have a blur. And as he comes forward, he gets less blurry. If you wanted to, let's see, play around with the Bezier of that, or the easing of it, you can come into here and just kind of pull on these curves for doing that. I'm not too good at figuring out which ones. Let's see. I think I'd have to play it to be able to see. By the way, if you want to get a real render of what you've done, click on this play button when you're in render mode here. Okay. For a second there, I forgot that that's what you had to do, so I kept clicking on that, and it was just playing through this thing. All right, so once you've done that, this should open up. It's loading the frames in there into the animate player, and then once they're in there, you can click on play again. It's hard to tell. I think I actually might have slowed down the blurring in the beginning. One thing we could do though, let's look around for where we can set the background so it's not black. Well, I searched for it, and all I came up with is just putting a big gray scale, big gray, scaled box in the back. In fact, actually, if I switch to perspective, maybe you can see it a little bit better. There is just a big square back there. But that perspective mode looks pretty cool, doesn't it? I think the next thing I teach is going to have to be something to do with creating some neat multi-layered scenes like that, because it does appear to be some real 3D action going on there. So let's go back to camera, and actually I've already rendered out what went on today. Let's start it back at the beginning here. So sure enough, there's a little cowboy walking forward. I guess actually we didn't end up doing any of that nudging in 3D space, other than just demoing it, how you do that. But it is possible. It's one of the cooler things about that. And two, we didn't really get heavy into changing out the arms, but you can always do that. And of course, if you want, look at this. You can go over to your library, and your walk cycle's in here. So you can, let's say, double click on this. Actually, let's get out of this render mode here. And so, you're going through here, and you go, you know what? I do want some sort of curve on one of these arms. Maybe, let's see. Maybe that one right there. So you grab this arm. There's that arm symbol right there. You've got it selected. So you can move it like that. And then all you'd have to do is just kind of reposition these guys like so. And that arm would actually be changed in your main walk cycle up here, because this is just a reflection of that symbol within there. And if I'd really thought about it when I was working on that, I should have made that swap in there. But let's see, did I fix it? Is it back to normal? Okay, I'm going to leave you guys with this copy. I guess I'll just call it Cowboy Finished. And why am I drawing cowboys today? Because I saw that movie Appaloosa, and it was really good. And now I'm reading one of the sequels to that book. So I've got cowboys on my mind. Okay, well, this has been an incredibly long lesson, and I hope you found it insightful.